Welcome back to another episode of Man Cave Movie Night.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
Little
whoa.
bit different episode this week for us. Don't usually talk about this kind of stuff, but it'll be fun. Fun little change of pace because it is bear season, guys. Bear
Whoa, whoa,
season
whoa,
is
whoa,
Ooh,
whoa,
upon
whoa,
us,
hello.
whoa, whoa,
and
whoa, whoa,
this is the
whoa.
third one. And so with that, wanted to share some facts about bears,
Good.
which is
It's
very
important.
important
Yeah.
for understanding the context of the show.
The
So
third
obviously,
season is when
no
people start
spoilers.
getting comfortable too. So you
Yeah,
gotta
so
you
the
gotta
third
make
bear
sure.
season is when more of the bears start coming out of hibernation
Right.
and joining the fray with the rest of
And
us human.
and people are thinking we've already made it through two. We can start letting our guard down. And that's one of the
Exactly.
big mistakes that people
And
make.
that's
And so
the
that's why, just for some extra context, that's why we think it's important to share this right now.
Yeah.
I
Bears
agree.
wait for your guard to be down. It's
True.
just a fact of nature.
Mhm.
Niall and I are going to Alaska at the end of this month, so we will be in
That is
prime
true.
bear country. So this is very relevant.
Yeah, very relevant.
Territory.
So with that as well, it's not really a game exactly, but I'll say a bear fact, and then you guys will have to guess what the next bear fact is that I'm gonna say with no context clues.
Right.
Oh,
Sick game.
okay. So you have a list.
I
You
have a
have
list. Well, I have 150 bear facts, and you have
Oh
to
god.
guess which bear fact I'm on because you did your homework and you memorized the 150 bear facts in order, right?
right. So what
Oh,
you're saying is you'll read a bear fact, and then we have
To
a
remember what the next bear
at
fact is.
best we have a 1 out of 149 chance of getting the next thing right.
Well, that'll be at
And at
worst
worst,
because
no, because
then the
at
odds will increase because
well, here's
there'll
the
be
thing. That's
more
that's figuring we remember all of the other
that
149
I
bear
have
facts.
told you so far. Yeah, we are gonna have to go through all of them. So
Okay.
buckle in, everyone. First bear fact: all species share common physical characteristics. So that's the first fact. Fact number two should be easy to remember because it was just right there second for you. So what is that? What is that second fact? Either of you can shout it out whenever you want to.
There are four kinds of bears: black, brown, polar, and koala.
That is correct. However, that is not the second fact. The second fact is Jared
Oh,
for a chance to steal.
yeah. I'll say pandas are actually not bears.
Ooh, good fact, but that is later down on the list. That's fact
Oh.
53. Uh,
Hmm.
fact number two is bears are omnivores. Bears are
no.
omnivores was the
I feel like I
one
Oh.
should have
that we
remembered
were
that
looking
actually.
Yeah.
for there. So the next one, so bear fact number three, bears have unique nose prints like humans have fingerprints.
Hmm.
Very interesting fact that we all obviously know since we memorized
Right.
150 bear
That's number
facts.
three. That's easy.
And so then what is number four?
Bears eat beets.
Hmm.
Ooh, interesting. That is actually correct. That is bear fact number
Yes.
four.
Wow. Can I
Good
go for
Woo!
job.
bear fact number five?
Oh
Yeah, go
yeah,
for
right
bear
in a
fact number
row.
five. Let's hear if you got it.
Yeah, sometimes they stand in a river to catch a fish, and it's really nice.
Ooh, that was the next one.
That's six.
That
Ah,
6-5 is bears hold significant cultural and symbolic values in various indigenous cultures around the world. That was number
Oh,
five.
I have a trivia question for you. This is real.
Let's hear the trivia question. That is
What
real.
is the word to describe someone who has bear-like features?
Bearish.
Like
top.
basically the bear version of like canine.
Oh,
What is
Top.
the
Is that what you said?
no, I don't think so.
Do you know
I
it?
don't
uh,
know. I don't know.
I don't know.
The answer is ursine.
An
Ah, because of
ursine.
Hmm.
It's
Ursa.
an Ursa bear.
Here's
Yeah,
another bear
that's my bear
fact.
fact. That's a
How
cool
many
one.
bears are left in the world?
12. Is that low?
Are
Is
we
that high?
counting or not
It's
counting zoos?
not counting zoos.
Oh, then it's
Hmm.
probably around 12. I was going to guess about 27.
13. So I'll
Oh,
Oh,
still give you the point because you were so close. But
there's a baker's dozen.
there are one baker's dozen bears left on the planet, and
They
it's
each have
kind
a
of a
mate
bummer.
except for one of them. So
Yeah, except for one.
That's
That's
really
tough.
His
sad.
name is Stinky, so that's why he doesn't have a mate, because
Kinda
he's just
makes sense.
really
Kinda
stinky.
makes sense. Like stinky even for bears.
Even for bears. Okay, so we got let's just imagine we burned through the rest of the
We got like
facts
130
and we got
left.
them all right, and we were really engaged and interested about bears the whole time. And now we're on the final fact. So final fact, I'll just give it to you.
Oh.
Bears are usually slow.
Worth it.
That's the last fact.
Hmm.
So
Does that
Okay.
mean you can
hopefully
outrun a bear and you should
So-
try to
Usually.
run
It
away?
means you can usually outrun a
they can
bear.
achieve short bursts of up to 40 kilometers an hour, but only in short bursts. Typically, they
Sheesh.
walk 1 meter per second.
Sheesh, man.
Bro,
In
they're
contrast to
soaring
the
it up.
human average of 1.4 meters per second. So kind of fun there. And yeah, that's all we got for bear facts. Let's talk about cooking bears. Welcome back.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa,
Man
whoa.
Cave Movie Night, where we talk
Roar!
about
Whoa,
bears.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Some
whoa.
And we
say.
talk about The Bear, which I was informed during our commercial break is a show, a television show
Mhm.
that only is called Bears because of the last name Berzado, I guess, which is in reference to like a nickname or something, but there's no actual physical bears that they ever
Wrong.
interact with.
Wrong. Dream sequence. Literally
Dream
episode
Bear.
1.
First shot of the whole show, bear.
My audio cut out there for a second. So
Oh,
hopefully
did you
I
hear
can
what
hear
we were
whatever you
roasting
say
you on?
next.
His audio is
just
going to
saying
cut
that
out
there was-
every time.
So why don't you guys talk
Every
about
time
every
every time we
roast
call him
bears
out
in
on
general.
being wrong.
Yeah, every
As
time
I
we say
try
that
and
he's wrong,
connect
he's
it.
going to pretend he doesn't hear us.
Yep.
No, I can,
Embarrassing.
And
No, so you
No,
can
I can
hear
hear.
now?
I can
Oh,
hear
you
now.
can hear. Great.
Oh, okay.
So what we were saying is
I can
that
hear
in
the whole
episode-
time.
In episode
love
1, there
bears.
is literally a physical real bear. Like it's like the first thing in the show that you see is a real bear.
I don't think that's true.
Yep.
It's
Dream
true. Real dream bear.
cage bear road.
Interesting.
Or
Yes,
or
you're
Sinai.
right. Is that the very first
Sinai.
episode?
That's the first thing in the
That's the
first
first
episode, I
shot.
think. Yeah.
Interesting. That gives
And they
good
show it
context.
again in
Well, yeah.
season 3.
Well, because I've
Spoilers.
seen the show, so I remember that. And that's I remember that. That's why they call it the
I
bear,
actually-
because the first shot is a bear.
I actually haven't seen the show, but I've had it described to me in great detail to the point that I feel like I can hold my own in this conversation.
You listened to a podcast about it, and that helped.
No, I had a one-on-one conversation with someone,
I just had a
and I said
great idea
describe to
for
me
a
beat by
podcast.
beat. Yeah.
Let's hear.
Someone watches a show and explains it in as much detail to somebody else as they can. That person then tells somebody else about the show in as much detail as they can remember. And then the episode of our podcast is like the last person, however many you do, telling the audience what the show
what
is.
the show is about.
We could call it television telephone.
I like that. Cave
Thanks.
movie night.
Cave movie.
Telephone. Television telephone cave movie night.
I think that would be a funny podcast, even if the
Yeah.
episodes are like very short.
Yeah,
That'd be
that would be
funny.
way funny.
It would be interesting and fun.
Yeah.
The
Anyway.
episodes are like 2 minutes long as a guy's
2
just like,
minutes. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know. There
Well,
was
and that's
about-
something
there
you can
was a
have a rotating
restaurant.
cast for that.
yeah,
totally.
2-minute episodes.
Totally.
You
Um,
have a bunch of new people coming in.
I'm realizing, we're planning on talking about the Bear season 3, but we've never talked about the Bear in general on this podcast, have we?
No.
No. So we can talk about
we
the
have
Bear
not.
and just put it in context of, because season 3 just came out. Let's talk about the Bear as a show and also the newest season.
Love it.
Great.
I can go first if you guys
Love
want,
it.
or you can go first.
Yeah, keep yapping.
Keep
Keep
yapping,
yapping?
baby.
I'll keep
big
yapping
baby.
all night long
Woo!
about the Bear, which is a show that I've seen, and I understand what it is, and I understand there's food in it and cooking. And just kidding.
So I'll
I
go
have
next?
watched it. I have watched it. I
And
haven't not
actor
watched it.
Oh, okay.
eyebrows.
I've watched
Actor
it.
eyebrows.
Actor eyebrows
yeah.
is in it. So
But
we'll
we'll
keep
get to
it
that.
light spoilers for the first little, as we share our general thoughts on the show and stuff. But I Love this show. I think it is very, very good. I think it like kind of was really popular after season one, and I was like, I don't really want to start a new show. Then season two came out, and he was even more popular. And I just kind of went into it not really knowing a lot about it, except that it's something about a restaurant, something, and that it was good. I didn't really know any of the cast in it because none of them are like huge. I mean, some of them, like Jeremy Allen White, has been in Shameless and some other shows, but nothing that I had seen personally. And so it was very cool to go into this show with basically no context or understanding of any of the character, like any of the actors or anything. And it's great. I think that's the best way to go into the show, especially going to like season two, not knowing anything as it like develops and there's like more guest stars and things like that.
Yeah.
But I love season one. Season two, though, just ups the ante. Like season two is just amazing. I really enjoyed season three as well. I think it's hard because we are in the context of only having season three and not having season four. And they were originally going to be filmed back to back, and that did not end up happening. And so we're just kind of in this weird limbo with it. I still enjoyed it. I think it'll be better with the context of season four. But regardless, what we've got so far, I'm really enjoying. And so just overall as a show, it's great. Highly recommend it. Maybe wait until season four because that'll probably be out in a year since season three does end on a cliffhanger. But it's great. Otherwise, it's a very, very good show that I've loved watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I it has spawned one of my favorite memes ever, which is him like screaming in the kitchen, and it says, when you work at a restaurant and someone orders something and now you have to cook it. And it really is kind of funny because you zoom out way far and that's pretty much what the show is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I work at a restaurant, someone orders something and now I have to cook it, and just screaming and anger is what comes out
Mad
of
about
that.
it.
Yeah.
No, but it's really good. It's one of those shows where I guess Lucas already kind of covered a lot of what I wanted to say with it. So I'll talk about the fact that it is classified as a comedy. However,
Oh.
I think that that is the most tenuous classification possible for
Yeah.
a show like that.
Yeah,
Same
that's
If I
a
with
was
good.
to
I'm glad you
list
brought this up
my
because I think it's a
Yeah.
great conversation
comedies
topic.
that I've watched that I like, or like just list comedies, I could list 100 different comedies before
yeah,
even thinking about The
before even
Bear as a
Yes.
considering the
Oh
comedy.
bear.
yeah.
And one of which that I would think of first is Succession,
Yeah.
Oh totally.
which
100%
which
Mhm.
agree.
is equally dramatic, but it leans more into comedy more frequently than The Bear does. I don't know. Season two, it kind of felt like they tried a little bit harder to like do jokes in The Bear, and then it kind of felt like they just pulled back away from that in season three.
Oh,
But it
entirely.
almost felt like they were like, okay, we've been classified as a comedy, so we need to do more comedy stuff. But it's like it's a comedy in the same regard as Sopranos is a comedy, in that it's
Totally.
like it's funny. That doesn't mean that it's a comedy, you know?
Yeah.
I was gonna
So,
say, yeah, Sopranos
and Sopranos is
was
not
yeah.
listed as a comedy.
No, and that's the thing. Yeah, Sopranos, I would say is I don't know, it's hard to put them all next to each
So
other in terms
it's
of how funny they are, but definitely funny
I don't
in
like the
general.
classification for two reasons. First of all, accuracy. I just don't feel like it's accurate. But then second of
Mhm.
all, that means that they are in contention with actual comedies for awards, and they're just blowing other comedies out of the water,
Yeah,
which
of
is
course.
cool. Like I like that The Bear is getting awards, but also I wish that it was contending with its actual
Dr-
competitors
Yeah, and yeah, it's
rather
like
than
you put him up against
Abbott
yeah, competition that
Elementary.
it's just yeah,
It's
Abbott
like, yeah,
Elementary. It's like
obviously The Bear
an
is going to
actual
stomp
sitcom.
that because The Bear is incredible, like narrative storytelling with just some funny things in some episodes, like not even all of them. But I just wanted to bring that up because I'm sure that that will come up later as we maybe refer to it as a comedy, even though I don't feel like that's accurate.
Facetiously. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I went into it expecting it to be more of a comedy because of that. And I was really pleasantly surprised at what it actually turned out to be, which is a very personal story of this person. And it's exciting because it's almost like a superhero movie, except not, in that the person that you're watching is the best at the thing that he does. And like they continually bring that back in season two and season three. how you find out that there are other people who were the best and then they met Carmi and they're like, oh no, I still have a lot to learn. And it's exciting to watch someone be the very best in the world at what they do and still not like do it perfectly or know how to do everything right. And it comes at the cost. It's very almost like Whiplash esque in the fact that like he's attained this perfection in this one thing, but almost lost control of everything else in his life because of it. And you watch him, it kind of feels like what a Whiplash 2 would be. Is like now
Yeah.
he's
Interesting.
attained
Yeah,
this
sure.
thing, and now he has to figure out how to live the rest of his life dealing with the fact that he has let go of everything else. And also in season 3 starting to have certain realizations that like a restaurant's not going to stay open forever. What is his life going to be after this? Because
Yeah.
right now, this is the only thing in his life. And it's exciting to watch that kind of dynamic of someone who's the best in the world at something, but that's not really enough. And so The Bear does a very good job of showing that kind of story.
Yeah, I'll
Totally
throw
agree.
my 2 cents. I really like this show as well. I do find myself laughing
Yes.
quite a bit,
Three
and
for
not
three, baby.
laughing when he's like in a very depressive state and
Yeah.
very
Or yeah,
anxious
it
or
deals with
talking about
very
his
heavy themes.
yeah, his brother, and oh yeah, it's just not incredibly fun or funny, I guess. My favorite things about the show, I think, though, is the kind of culture and vernacular that has come from it, where people who watch it are now just like, yes, chef, no, hands behind,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like,
Word.
I've
Heard.
cooked, heard, chef. Yeah, stuff like that. Like, I love the culture around the show. There's not many shows where I see that kind of same uh I guess just adoption of the culture they're representing or this area. And, I don't know. And I love that. I like that people who have seen the show have this in common. I really like Carmi. I like his struggle, like Niall was saying, and his him constantly getting in his own way. Uh, it makes it very satisfying when there is growth and good development um, just for him. And as an audience, you're constantly rooting for him and everyone else in the cast to succeed and to overcome these challenges that they're going through.
Totally.
And so it just makes it a very, very likable group that you empathize with and you're rooting for. And yeah, it high stakes restaurant industry that's very, very stressful at times. I think there are some episodes in the show, which I'm sure we'll talk about, where I've been more stressed watching it than maybe watching anything else. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
Or like more stressed watching it than you feel like at work.
Yeah, doing
Like,
real things.
totally,
Watching
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
like,
show. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
So,
crazy.
they give you an insane amount of tension in this show. And
mhm.
it's kind of, I don't know if it's just because me over the last few years I've been like watching more like cooking influencers on like Instagram and stuff, but it almost feels like it came with like a general cultural interest that people already were starting to just kind of like build up into watching people cook and like
Mm.
like the arms folded, sparse tattoos chefs that are
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah.
over the place now.
Sticker
That
sleeves.
it's yeah, and it's like they took that and made it a TV show, and
Yeah.
it feels like weirdly timely, despite the fact that like cooking has always existed. It almost feels like it felt this wave of like kind of social media interest in stuff like this and like hopped on
Yeah.
early, and now the social media interest is like attached to the show,
All
and
part of it. Yeah,
it's
totally.
it kind of like all of it feeds into itself, and it's really cool. It's like I and honestly, like as such a basic thing, this is so dumb, but I had started like taking an interest in cooking about a year before I watched it. And now that I feel like I'm like kind of good at cooking and can kind of handle myself in the kitchen, when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, that's stuff that like maybe I could try. Like their Sunday dinners
Nice.
that they show in season one of like that. Can't remember what
Or
it's
the
called, but
potato
like the
chip.
rolled up, or yeah, the omelet with
Yeah.
the chips and the Boursin cheese in it. Like, yeah, I want to try to make that stuff, and I feel like I probably could. Like, not the high level 3 Michelin star stuff that they're making, but some of the stuff I'm
Yeah.
like, I could do that. And it feels engaging from that perspective as well.
Totally.
So,
Yeah, I love because like there's a movie called Boiling Point. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's like apparently that's like the movie comparison that a lot of people have for this.
mm.
It came out a couple years before, but it's like a single shot and it's like one dinner basically in a kitchen and it's like
Oh, I've heard about
very
Hmm.
this. Yeah.
um very similar kind of situation where the chef is maybe more like the Joel McHale kitchen, like if
Mm.
there was like an
Yeah.
element to that. But I like the whiplash comparison of like him after he's obtained that. And I love the kind of initial like hook of the whole like inciting incident of the whole show of just Carmy his whole life like wanting to get away and prove himself and then it all just brings him back at
Being
the end of it all.
financially required to come back. Like,
Hmm. Well, yeah, that, and also like with his brother leaving in the restaurant, and it's like that being the initial idea, and then the first season with it being like, okay, let's keep the sandwich shop going, and then as they evolve in seasons 2 and 3, like, no, we're gonna actually make this a high-end restaurant and not, you know, evolve it naturally, and yeah, the progression of the show has been awesome. Like it has not felt forced or anything like that. It's been very very natural and I've loved that as it's
which
progressed.
which is surprising because I feel like when you zoom out and look at the story, you kind of think like, how would that not feel forced? This
Yeah.
dude comes back to a sandwich shop and in one season, 8 episodes, decides this sandwich shop already isn't working. Let's turn it into a high-end restaurant where we need to book it out months in advance for it
Mm.
to even be financially viable. Like it doesn't feel like it should flow as well as it does when you just think about the plot from a broad view,
Yeah.
but it feels so good when you're watching it. And just like every episode feels like it needs to be there and it doesn't feel like a leap when they decide to change it into a higher end restaurant. It's really cool. I love a show like that where it's like when you describe it, someone's like, no way. Like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? You're like, no,
Come on.
just watch it. Like, I promise
Yeah.
it makes sense. And it's really cool because that's the exciting thing about watching something, right? Is like a lot of the time you don't want to watch something that's just hyper like realistic, like this could happen. It's like, yeah, this is kind of a fantasy in a way because of how good he is at what he does and what they're trying to do on a grand scope. However, there's so much truth imbued into it that it doesn't matter if it's a little outlandish because it feels so real when you're watching it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good perspective on that.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, buddy, thanks for saying that. All
You're
right, what do we talk
welcome.
about now?
Well,
Well,
I was
I
Are
gonna
we
want,
say,
done with
oh,
the
go,
podcast?
go. Jared, go ahead. Jared,
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
I think one thing that constantly impresses me about this show is not only how good it is, but about it's just the talent that they're able to attract to be on it, even in small
Oh
roles.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, Constantly in like every episode, it seems like they have a guest star who's just a character in this world who has a relationship with at least someone in the cast, and you're like, oh, dang, they're in this? Wow,
Yeah.
that's
For
okay.
an
And then the
episode,
next
but yeah.
episode, yeah, and there's certain episodes where you just have an ensemble of
Hmm.
incredible characters. But I think that is a testament to how good of a show it is, but also like how good of an experience it must be to work on it.
yeah.
I
Hmm.
I don't imagine they'd be able to attract people like that without it being a positive experience.
Or without them having a way bigger budget than they have,
Yeah.
True.
it kind of feels like almost like a Wes Anderson type thing, where
Yeah.
it's like
Mhm.
Oh, I want to be in the bear.
none of them are really getting paid that much. They're there because they want to be part of it. And like, sure, they're getting a paycheck, but it's a couple of days of filming that they probably could spend on something way more lucrative that they just don't care as much about.
Yeah.
And it's always exciting to see actors doing roles that they want to do. And that's, I think, one of the reasons that Wes Anderson is so successful in his movies, because everyone in there is just like having such a good time. And there are a million A-listers in every Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And with this, it's like, the dinner episode, the fishes episode, I was genuinely like, how are all of these people here? This is like the Avengers of like B-list celebrities
I know.
that would still be really hard to get into a room together, and they were able to do it just because that's a set people want to be on, and it's a show they want their names attached to.
Multiple Academy Award winners, multiple Academy Award nominees. I think as
all
we like
sitting around a dinner table fighting with each other, like
it's crazy.
Yeah,
Or Emmy nominees
so
or winners, like it's just wild. I think as we move into talking more spoiler territory into season 3, we need to be a little bit more specific with that stuff, but especially with like, season 3, because season 2 introduces some of those characters like Olivia Colman and Will Poulter, and then I like how it feels like they are huge celebrities and they are like smaller roles, but it feels natural for them to not constantly be there. And they show up when it's appropriate as well. Like, Will Poulter shows up in the last episodes of season 3 for that, like, dinner. And it's like, great, this makes sense. Olivia Colman is in it every now and again. That season, the very first episode of season 3 has some flashback stuff. And so you see John Mulaney. Obviously the teen episode has John Bernthal, but it all just feels like supernatural for it to progress. Supernatural. I realized that as soon as I said that. It all feels supernatural especially with ghouls. But yeah,
Carmi literally fights demons in the show.
Yeah. Season 4 is going to be nuts with the Hellgate opening and him stepping into it. Spoilers for the end of season.
It's crazy
when he steps into the Hellgate and promises Satan that he will end his empire. I'm pretty excited about season 4.
That was pretty surprising, but honestly,
so cool.
A natural progression for the character as well.
It
didn't feel forced.
Made of bones out of his sternum. It was very cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Someone was saying something real.
No, I was just saying how it's cool.
There's ghosts and stuff.
Yeah, there's ghouls. But let's talk a little bit more specifically about season 3, since we haven't really talked to each other about that at all.
Yeah, pretty much not.
What did you guys think of it in general? And it all came out on the same day, so it was easy to watch it all at once.
I wanted to also add some context of it all came out on the same day, which in some ways is good, but I don't like. I prefer week to week just because it comes out on the same day. I am addicted to my phone, which means I know I'm going to see spoilers. So I'm like, I have to watch this all immediately.
Otherwise
I watched it all in like a day and a half. And
very nice.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I would say that it's the lowest of the 3 seasons for me, specifically for something that we've talked about a billion times on this podcast already, which is it just feels like a part 1, it's like that's the
lot of that recently
reason that I wanted Boy and the Heron to win over Across the Spider-Verse, because it's like Across the Spider-Verse is a pure piece of art that deserved its nomination, but it feels incomplete with that ending. And I'm tired of part 1s a little bit. And so I feel like you could have added one scene to this episode with just a little more reaction to what the review actually is that would have made it feel more conclusive and less like a part 1.
Yeah.
And with that, I think it would have been a higher contender, honestly, which is insane. The omission of basically a little bit more context made dislike the whole season a little bit. Not dislike, but like less than the other 2. But that being said, it's my least favorite of the three, but you're picking children here, it's like everyone has a least favorite, but you still like it. And
Yeah.
I I thought it was great. It had some of my favorite stuff from The Bear that the show has had. The birth episode was so good. The Tina episode was so good. The
Wasn't
first
quite as graphic
episode,
as House of the Dragon. I was
no,
hoping for it to
it
be.
was kind of relieving to remember that outside of House of the Dragon, you can have a birthing episode and have it not the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Is
yeah,
there much of that in season 2? Just
None at
yeah, I
all.
haven't watched it.
okay.
Okay, great.
Spoiler
Ooh.
for season 2, not at all.
No
Not even a
birthing
single
goodness.
birthing scene.
of House of the
Ooh.
Dragon. There are
Yeah.
many in season 2 of The Bear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
ones are pretty brutal as well.
Uncut too. Like they
yeah,
don't
in
edit
the
it
Yeah,
kitchen
all.
it's
while they're
it's
cooking
real
stuff. It's
too, which is
gross.
the crazy stuff. They like
Um,
deep fake the actors' faces onto the
yeah,
real
they just
people
brought
giving
in
birth.
people giving
It's
birth.
yeah, into the
in the
restaurant,
freezer.
middle of the restaurant.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that first episode I thought was so beautiful. I thought it was really
Mhm.
well done.
Oh yeah, that
I
first one
know
was
that
so
there are
good.
some people that didn't like it just because they were kind of like, they're just showing us what we already know or whatever. But it was like, it's just, I love when a show tries something that's a little risky, and to have a whole episode that basically has like no dialogue and is just kind of showing you
Just
where everybody is
vibes.
at. I I thought it was so well done. I wouldn't trade that episode for anything. I feel like they're still operating at the same level of art that they've been with the first two seasons. It just comes at the cost of the original plan was for it to come out and then have season 4 come out like a little while later. And then that didn't end up happening. And so it suffers from that a little bit. But I thought it was all great. That's still pretty spoiler free. There's some
Yeah.
spoilers in what I said, but
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was
And
great.
honestly though, a year is not bad.
It's
We've gotten 3
compared to
seasons,
everything else we've got.
yeah.
Yeah.
Compared to everything else, yeah. And the other thing is like with your thing with Beyond the Spider-Verse, someone uh the guy who voices Peter Parker, like the Indian Peter Parker, is like, oh yeah, I'm scheduled to start recording in like 6 months. And voice
Oh.
recording is usually one of the first things that gets done. So
Yeah.
we're looking at probably 2 or 3 more. It's probably going to be the same gap between the first and the second to the second and the third.
Which is so
Which is crazy
dumb
because
if
wasn't the
it's
original plan a
part
year
one.
apart?
No, it was 6 months. It was
Ugh.
like June or whatever, and then the
How do
next
you
one was
botch
like
that prediction
February or
that
April.
bad?
I don't
just
know.
don't get it,
I don't.
man.
Well, I just don't know why they ever committed to another date
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
knew it was like, oh yeah, no, this is. Maybe it was like, yeah, it was like 9 months, but it was less than a year. It was definitely less
Yeah.
than a year. It would have been April of this year or something. But there was no shot, no chance in heaven that was going to happen. But anyway,
Yeah.
season 3, I agree with your points, Niall.
Thanks.
I also yeah, it's just that like in 5 years when the whole show is out and done with, it's not going to matter, like, because you'll just be able to watch it
Right.
all and continue like the binge aspect of it. So it's interesting, like watching a show as it's airing, because that doesn't happen as much, especially with some of the bigger shows we've watched, like Game of Thrones and things, and Breaking Bad, because we can just watch those and not have to worry about the years or
Yeah.
more in between each season. But with this, yeah, it is a little bit sour to be like, but again, in context, a year is the perfect amount of time in between a season. I think
Yep.
a year gives us enough time to like appreciate the season that came out and look forward to the next one. And it seems like they're gonna gear up and start shooting soon, and they're able to turn around the seasons pretty quick because there's not a ton of like CG or stuff like that. And
I wonder how that's
so
going to be
hopefully next
schedule
summer.
wise for Eben Moss backrack
I bet because they shoot. Oh yeah, with
with Fantastic Four. That's
Fantastic
shooting
Four.
now.
That's a good point.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. They'll probably shoot at the end of the year, maybe. I'm sure they'll figure it out. I bet it'll come out
It'll
next
be
June or
fine.
July.
Who
Yeah.
cares?
It'll be next
fine.
summer, and that's fine. But yeah, it is frustrating. Jared, you can
Sure. I liked
Yeah,
it.
please.
I like the new season. I'm with you now. It's not my favorite. the ending was very underwhelming, especially in my case, which I told you guys about.
Oh yeah.
But there's 10 episodes this season, is that right?
Yeah.
Or
I think so,
yeah.
yeah,
I
10.
think it's 10. Yeah.
So I was watching it, getting caught up, and I swear, I don't know how this happened, but I like was looking at how many episodes I had left, and I was like, okay, I'm on episode 9, and there was one more after this. Guys, spoiler alert, I was not on episode 9, I was on episode 10. And so I watched it. It had the whole to be continued little title card thing at the end. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I
Two-part
guess
finale.
that's
Yeah,
when we're
whatever.
going to get
Two-parter
like the
episode, yeah.
payoff of
Yeah.
this, right? Okay, great. I think we recorded the podcast or something right after because I told you guys I'm getting off to go finish The Bear.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I'm going right now. I'm
Yeah,
gonna watch
yeah.
that last
Yeah.
episode. And then I turned it on only to then text you and
It's
say,
like
"Oh, never mind. I am done with it, I
it's
guess."
on your rewatch list.
Yeah, exactly. I
instead
started
of you're
watching it
currently
again. I was like,
watching.
"Are they flashbacking a little bit?
His whole episode a flashback of last episode.
Weird." And then I kind of skipped through. I was like, "Okay, well, that's his conversation with the like uncle character." Let's skip forward. They're at the restaurant. Okay, so this is, and then I checked again. What episode number am I on? And it took me like longer than I want to admit to.
I'm sure it's
Yeah, to
disorienting.
This
guarantee
is
that.
done.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially with that context, it was a very lackluster ending, and it did not have that punch of, we're picking up next time. Like you said, in the context, like in the future, looking back, it won't be that big of a deal. But I even think about a lot of those seasons of the great shows from the past, and you really can like if I talk about a moment in Succession, we'll say, which is the contemporary with the bear,
Mhm.
I think I'll pretty easily be able to say, oh, that's season 3, right? Or
Yeah.
oh, that's season
Mhm.
2, because there is this like kind of
There,
bookend for
yeah,
each
those
one,
are very, yeah.
which I just don't know if that will be the case for season 3 and 4 of this show.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in Game of Thrones, I have a friend watching it right now, and I'll talk to them every once in a while, and they're like, "Oh, this just happened," and I can pretty easily say,
Oh yeah, you're like, oh yeah,
season
that's
3, yeah,
uh-huh. Yep.
yeah. Oh, just wait, something crazy is gonna happen in season
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that outside of maybe the ending and what will looking back during the watching experience is very positive. Every episode I just enjoyed. I had a good time with. My favorite of this season, I think, was Tina's episode.
Oh, it's so good.
Between that
Yeah.
and the first one, which the first one feels like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off museum scene, where
Yeah.
it's very much more an
It's like a
artsy
vibe.
direction of
It's good.
vibe. But it's so good, and I would not replace it for any more plot. Like it's
Totally.
perfect.
Yeah, no, it
where
was
it is.
great.
Yeah.
But of all the character episodes, maybe the forks
Forks in
Spoon.
season 2.
Forks is the
Yes,
best
Forks. Yeah.
of the character episodes.
Oh yeah.
Certainly, but Tina's I think is my second favorite. I really
Yeah.
really liked it. And seeing or a little spoiler, John Bernthal and
Yeah.
that's his name, yeah,
Yep, John
Yeah,
Bernthal.
that whole thing was just
And
his
it's
conversation.
like
great, yeah, the whole
50%
conversation.
of the episode is just their one conversation.
Their conversation,
and it's
yeah.
so
I
good.
really really liked it.
And it feels like such a natural decision for him to make, like the offer that he extends, like by the end
Oh
of
yeah,
that
totally.
conversation. It's just, and it also shows you what they've been telling you for so long in real action with someone that's not his family, that he was just a good dude and just
Mhm.
so nice to everyone. And it's like, you really get to see that in action. And it's built upon this reputation that they've already talked about with him so much. And it's like, could that episode have been one line of dialogue in some other episode where she's like, yeah, I was looking for a job and everything was really hard. And I came in here and we talked and he offered me a job. And it's like, yeah, sure. However, that's such a compelling story that like, I don't know. I loved to see that.
Yeah. It's a
going
very
back-
simple story.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, like it follows a very like simple narrative arc, but It really does add so much value and context to these characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like as 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 good of a backstory as I've seen, like as
Yeah.
good of a backstory episode as I've seen in any show.
It was really good.
It's
Yeah,
really
it
good.
was really well made. And
Um,
Io Adebari directed it, which was cool.
yeah. Yeah.
Her
Super
first
cool.
episode she's directed of the show.
I wanted to bring up the other thing. I just remember this, the other qualm that I have with this season, and then everything else I have to say is positive. But it really felt to me like they kind of nerfed Carmi and Richie's relationship this season. It used to be so like interesting and dynamic, and there was contention, but also love. And there were scenes where like they weren't in the kitchen, they would just be joking with each other. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, there's more to this relationship than just that. And this season, they just like only hated each other. And
Yeah.
like 90% of their dialogue with each other was just F you, F you, F you.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was like, it almost felt like it was trying to be played as a joke that just like wasn't really landing, at least for me. Like it wasn't that funny. And so I was just kind of like, no, you're taking away like this cool relationship that I really liked. And it felt like that part just wasn't as built out as the rest of the season. And
Yeah.
it's a shame because that dynamic is like my favorite in the show, like their relationship with each other. And it felt pretty reduced this season. Which I was bummed about because Richie is my favorite character. And
Same.
I like to see him, you know, as more of a character than that. And they showed some of that like in the episode where he tries to apologize and Carmi like doesn't accept the apology or whatever, the other way around, I can't remember. But it just like, I don't know, it felt a little reductive of what that character had become in season 2.
Yeah.
And it was a little unfortunate in my eyes. But other than that, that's now the only other like downside to this season for me.
I totally agree. And I hadn't even, I guess, recognized that consciously or thought about it. And so thanks for pointing it out and ruining
Sorry.
it.
Yeah, what the
I'm
heck?
kidding. No,
I'm
it kind of
sorry.
fills in
Well,
like these pieces of like helping me understand why maybe the season didn't hit in some of
Yeah.
the ways as
and
I wanted it to. Oh,
people on Reddit who in general should just be ignored, but it's
Should
interesting
stop posting.
sometimes
Yeah.
to see the online discourse, and that's that and like IMDb are really the only places I think to or like sometimes Rotten Tomatoes to see what the general audiences are thinking, or I
Yeah.
guess the generally terminally online people are thinking.
Yeah. See what the
And
neckbeards think.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so there's not always a lot of diversity in those opinions. It's just hive mind a lot of times. And a lot of people on the subreddit in particular did not like this season. And their criticisms were
That's a
all
shame.
like, some of them I was like, I get it to an extent, but also the main criticism was that a lot of what was set up in terms of like conflict and problems for Carmi and everyone in season 2, at the end of season 2 in particular, was not resolved in season 3 at all. It was just kind of built upon, those being Claire, the strained relationship with Richie and Carmi, whether or not Sid wants to leave the restaurant, whether they're
Yeah.
going to go under, like with the financing, like all that stuff was not resolved. And the Claire thing was barely touched on, which killed me because that was what I
That
wanted the
was
most
so
closure with.
frustrating.
Same.
Yeah.
That for sure I get. But again, like I like what we got because the episodes, yeah, they didn't touch on that, but the development of like, oh, someone's coming into review and we need to make it look good. And they already came into review. And then, Carmi's sister gives birth on her own, the teen episode and the like vibey episode and the Sid episode where she's gets the job offer and still hasn't signed the contract. And then the finale, like the finale was, I loved the finale with Carmi like literally having to face his demon and then him being like, yeah, what was your name again? Like,
With the sternum sword.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Joel
Had to
played by
face
Joel
yeah.
McHale,
Yeah.
Mephisto, played by Joel McHale.
Joel McHell.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, man.
That whole thing, and even like the presence of that restaurant closing during this season. That was like a prevalent theme throughout, and just like their existentialism as a result of that too. And so I get some of the criticisms, but also I liked what they did do with the season. It's like I like the new stuff. I liked what little evolution of that stuff we did get. And because the other thing is, it's like it's not like the show is canceled. It's not like we never get resolution to those pieces. So it's like, yeah, we don't have it yet, but hope, with season 4 and beyond, I think they're only going to do 4 or 5. So next season might be the last one, or 5 will be the last one. Which is great, I think, in terms of like pacing and things like that, just not making it go on too long. They still have a lot they can do. And so in that context, it's like, oh, we only have 1 or 2 more seasons, and we didn't even get a resolution of the stuff that was already set up while introducing new more stuff. Whatever. I still enjoyed it. Certainly, it is my least favorite of the 3, but overall, just in terms of quality television, it's great. So yeah, overall, very good time.
I'll
Yeah.
ask a little question, which is in the next 2 seasons, we'll say, are there any either side characters you'd like to see have maybe a more predominant role in the show, or is there a character you hope gets more of a spotlight going forward? This is maybe like a prediction type question, but I guess more hopeful prediction of who will get a little bit of a spotlight. I think it's weird to make predictions about a show like this where it's like, yeah, the restaurant will do good. I also predict
Yeah.
the restaurant will do bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sure Carmi will be in his own way. And also, maybe he'll be happy. I don't know.
Yeah, who
Right.
knows?
So it's just
It's
like
very,
Um,
very character driven show, so it's kind of hard. There's not a lot of like
not a big
plot stuff,
predictions.
like like there would be
Yeah,
with like the boys in
right.
totally.
terms of but
I
still
I
relevant.
think
Good to talk about.
the guy, I can't remember his name, but the guy that's still running the sandwich
Oh, Ibrahim?
portion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Ibra. I think that he merits a backstory, especially
same,
with
dude.
him having so many, like his whole thing in season 1 was that he was always just talking about these insane experiences that he had had before. And like he, I believe, is an immigrant from, I can't remember where, but like I want to see some of that story. I don't know how much into that they would go, but I just, he's still a character who has so many interesting things about him that we've only seen a little bit of, like him bailing on going to the chef school, like the
Oh,
culinary
yeah,
school,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what it's called.
Yeah.
And like that was really tragic. And then when he came back and he kind of accepted a job to come back still, and like
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a lot of him that I would like to see, and so that I could understand his character more fully. And I
Hmm.
feel like they've done that very well with all of the characters who have elements of that. Like they behave this certain way and we haven't told you why yet.
Hmm.
And that's why, like, we got the Richie highlight, we got the Tina highlight. And so I would love to see and understand more about Ibra.
Yeah.
I liked seeing the context of Sid trying Carmi's, like, because she had mentioned, oh yeah, I went to your restaurant and I tried your food. I liked how we
Yeah,
got that
I
in this
loved
season as
that.
well.
Mhm.
That was really cool. And how it just kind of like blew her mind. And then it kind of gives some cool context to like, her being like so shocked when he's in Chicago, just in this sandwich shop, and she gets to work
Yeah.
with him. Just kind of this like hero, like God status that you're now equal with,
Yeah.
but there's like tension, and it's like, that would be a very interesting dynamic. Um, and they do a great job of representing that. But in terms of like how the show progresses, like, man, well, the review is going to be good, right? Because they're not going to close the restaurant. Um, at least not in season 4. But I guess they could. I don't know, man. I don't that
Go
that's
back to making sandwiches.
yeah, it's
Well,
just
yeah, and I'm not too worried about plot stuff because yeah, we really
yeah,
it
yeah.
could go any direction
It
and
could
it's
go
still going
either
to be
way.
a
Yeah, they
good
really could.
show. It's
It'll
or
be
I
continually
I
engaging.
think we all trust that even if they do close the restaurant, it's because they have a better idea of where it could go.
Of where it could, yeah, evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah, just individual
Um,
characters separating.
but I'm interested, like, what characters do you want to see
Yeah,
like get the
I agree,
spotlight?
Ibrahim, but the sommelier, I can't remember his name either, but
Oh
he had that little
yeah.
conversation with
yeah.
one of the facts who was like, "Oh yeah, you played basketball, huh?" And he was like, "Yep."
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he like got arrested or something. I don't remember the context
I
of
think he just
why
got
he
like
got.
injured or something.
Was it an
It
injury?
was like
Yeah,
a
it was
bad
something like
injury that he
something
couldn't
happened
recover
where he had
from.
to.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it was an injury. I think you're right. Um, and it was like, yeah, and that was it. Now I just like do this, and so it would be interesting to see like him in his glory days and what brought him down and then back up like into the restaurant. Um, but I can't remember that character's name. But
It's a
all
good
the
pick.
people working there
Isn't his name
have,
like Moses or something?
I think it is actually,
Let me
have
look.
interesting, like they have intrigue. It's like, oh yeah, even though they don't always get the spotlight, the cat, like the ensemble is always engaging. um the uncle could be interesting to have like a like an episode 4 in
Yeah.
terms of seeing how he got his money, how he's losing his money, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Like it could be cool to see him behind the scenes for a full episode. Computer, how that character is, what he is.
Yeah. I would love to see. It's like it's Uncle Jimmy. Is that right? Am I
He's
making
got
that
like
up?
three names.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
Cicero.
Jimmy, but also
Cicero. Yeah,
Cicero.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cicero.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, not Moses. His name is Sweeps. They refer to him as
sweeps.
Sweeps.
Well, once he
So
gets this
anyway,
episode, we'll remember
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, exactly,
it.
exactly.
Yeah, I would love to see kind of the behind the scenes uncle perspective of uh Carmi's brother passing, and then
Hmm.
the being connected to the family before and then during that transition, and now like where the story's gone with him financing the restaurant and the strain that's putting on him, because it's hard because he's kind of like an antagonist a little bit. Like he's the one who's sort of like he's an ally, but also the reason they have to make certain decisions and they're feeling a lot of pressure is because he's
Yeah,
like, I want to close down this place because it's
yeah,
so
and
expensive.
also it exists because of me. It's my
Yeah.
money, so it's like he's definitely right in that element of it, but it's also, yeah, totally like, oop, oopsie, gotta
Oopsie doopsie.
turn a profit.
whoopsies.
Gotta
I
actually have a restaurant.
Yeah, I would love to see more of the behind the scenes things and like why give a reason why he's stressed about the money. Because then the audience, what I think in turn sympathize and also stress about the money. Because
Yeah,
right now it's like, yeah, they're just making food. It's maybe not as profitable because Carmi's doing this whole rotating menu. Maybe if they do cut back things, it'll be better and everything will turn out fine. But I'm not too stressed about their finances. I don't have any sort of like stake in that. Like I don't really care
yeah, that's fair.
if they're not profitable. But I think if they did put an episode in that made me care more, it would be
That
a
would,
great element to it.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's my little
deal.
quest.
It was
That's
good.
cool.
chat.
And
That's
good question.
slang
I've
for
I've got
question.
a question. This is a dumb one, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
I love.
Um, this show is getting real excited about celebrity cameos. We've already talked
Yep.
about that a little
Yeah,
bit. Who do you feel like is likely, not necessarily like who do you think is going to show up and whatever, but like
yeah. Who would fit?
yeah, who would fit in the bear and like how would you work them in
Mm.
as a one-off show up?
That's a good question. Honestly, I think Donald Glover
Dude, he would
would
be
Oh, he's
sick.
a
would be great
great fit. Yeah.
as like even maybe more of a celebrity personnel who likes
More
the restaurant
community.
or is like coming to the restaurant and it's a big deal. Like there's gonna be press. Would be like a
Oh,
good
it's
way to
like
fit
he
him in.
plays
He plays a
celebrity
celebrity who's
in,
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be
He
sick.
could
I
also be
think
in
it'd
the
be fitting.
Sweeps backstory as like a family member of Sweeps or something. They
Oh,
kind of look
totally.
similar.
Yeah.
He could play Childish Gambino.
Yeah,
He
he can
could
play
play
childish
Childish
Gambino.
Gambino.
But yeah,
He could
the
say, "My name
reason
is Childish Gambino," but soon it won't be.
But then it won't be because the
true.
tour will end.
True. But yeah, the reason he comes to mind is because we do have a couple other community actors
Yeah.
Yeah.
who are on the show, Joe McHale and
The other one.
Britta. What
Yeah, what's her
Britta's
name?
what's her
character is
name?
Karen.
Jake
The
No,
lady who's like
Jillian
Jillian
Jacobs.
Jacobs?
something like
Yeah,
that.
it's
Jacob
something like
Yeah.
that.
Jillian Jacobs,
Sounds
something like
great
that.
to me.
Yeah, her name's
Not a
Jacob.
main character, but she's great as well.
Jacob.
Yeah, she is very good. But I think having those two, it would make sense to have
Mhm.
another. And it's not going to be
I
Chevy
feel like
Chase.
I think someone who worked on who worked on Community also is working on the bear. I don't
That would make
remember, like
sense.
Christopher Storer, the guy who created the bear, I think had some involvement with that. And I think that's why Joel McHale was like in
Yeah.
season one, and then they've moved
I didn't
back
even
over from there.
realize that was Joel McHale until season 3.
Really?
What?
That's
I was
crazy.
like,
Really?
was that
I
Joel
immediately
McHale the
recognized him.
whole time? I
Wow.
had to
Yeah.
go back and look, and I was like, did they like recast that guy with Joel McHale? And
That's
I
so
went back and I
funny.
was like, no,
That's
that was
random.
him. And I
No,
just
that was him the whole time.
somehow did not
Yeah.
connect that. I have no idea how, because when he showed up in season 3, I recognized him immediately. So I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what
Well, because
happened.
he's in the first episode as well, Joel
Yeah.
McHale.
I think so, yeah.
During the flashback stuff, he's just
Yeah.
grinding Carmi, and it's like, oh, geez,
Yeah.
dude.
So that's my pick.
I asked this
Cool.
question. I don't have an answer. Like Aquafina or something, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, don't put
Oh,
Aquafina in this
please,
show.
please, Aquafina, please be in this.
No, I'm trying
Let's say
to.
Dave Batista. We got John Cena. Let's get Dave. Let's
Oh,
get The Rock in
yeah.
here.
Let's get
I
The Rock,
did,
baby.
The Rock is just a normal guy. He just
and we'll
shows up and
Yeah.
know
is like,
we'll know
he's
he
the
won't lose a
photographer.
fight. Could
Yeah.
you
Well,
imagine? He
oh,
shows up.
he shows up and punches Carmi in the face. He's like,
He's like,
I
I'm
win
using a
my fight.
Nikon.
he well, if he was the reviewer, that'd be sick. It's like, oh,
Mm.
published by Dwayne Johnson, and it's The Rock, and he shows up and he's like, yeah, I ate here a few weeks ago and I didn't like it at all. That's why I
There was
wrote
They're
it.
no
like, we didn't
Zoa
even
in my
notice.
wine.
Yeah, there was no. Where was my Zoa wine cocktail? You didn't even offer me one.
They're like, the reviewer was Dwayne Johnson. How did nobody notice that?
Notice him. He's so big
He's
and
so big.
distinct.
I
Yeah.
think on the back end, on a family side of things, I don't know how or why or where, but I feel like Bill Murray could be a good fit somewhere. Maybe he's
Sure.
like the
Interesting.
Facts dad or something. And
King
he just
fact.
like
Well,
this, yeah,
their dad has not shown up yet.
yeah.
So
So that's why I'm thinking like
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
that could be
well,
him, just as
fact
like,
dad, but also Carmi and
Carmine.
all their
oh,
like
their
the
dad,
He might
their
be-
right?
like Jamie Lee Curtis's.
Might be too old, right? Bill Murray's pretty.
Bill Murray's
Yeah,
pretty
to
old.
be
He's
their
pretty
dad,
up
yeah,
there.
to be a
Yeah.
fact dad, he could be fact dad. But to be their
Fat
dad,
daddy.
I'm really curious. Maybe they get
Yeah.
Donald Glover to be their dad.
That could be interesting.
Yeah,
It's
he looks like
possible.
them.
It's
Yeah, he looks just
possible.
like them.
Who could be their dad?
That's a good. See, that's something I've seen people speculate, and I don't know. There's a lot of.
know either.
It'll be someone big. I'm sure they're gonna try and get someone like
Someone who
older.
Like
I mean,
Tommy
Bob
Lee
Odenkirk would have
Jones.
been. Tommy Lee Jones. He's too old. He's like 90.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones is old boy.
I can only think of people like old actors who I have always perceived as old, and therefore now they are very old, rather than actors who at one point were just adults and are now old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Michael Caine. He's just always been old. He's been
Michael
old since
Caine
the
is their
70s.
dad.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever heard him do an American accent? I haven't. Could be
Christopher
interesting.
Lloyd has been old since Back to the Future, and that movie is 40 years old.
Yeah, it's
That's true.
insane. I'm gonna look up list of old actors.
What about Bryan Cranston?
old white actors?
Oh, dude, that'd be
Bryan
fun.
Cranston could work.
Bryan Cranston could do it.
I think he's not like Italian American
I was gonna say that's the only
looking at
thing.
all, but he's an older established actor.
Yeah, you got
Who
Al
has
Pacino.
played
He's the
in
right
that.
age. Al Pacino.
Yeah, he's a redhead.
Robert De
I'm
Niro.
more thinking who could be married to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking too.
And I think
Geez,
Bryan
a lot of these
Cranston could
old
be.
people I'm looking at are
Is he
old.
dead as well? The dad? Have they discussed that or just gone? Like out of
I'm
the
not
picture?
sure.
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like it's been intentionally ambiguous.
Yeah,
Because it
All of these
also, I don't
people
know.
have
I don't
been
know if they're
old for a million
divorced
years.
because they're separated, or he's dead and they haven't specified. But they're
Hear
definitely not
me
together
out.
because he's not in the Fishes episode. So
I know
How about Ian
age-wise,
McShane?
I
too old.
don't know
Not
who
too
that is.
old. He's the dad in Hot Rod, the stepdad.
Oh,
What were you saying, Jared?
well,
Okay.
I think he'd be good now.
Thanks.
bit old,
Thank
though.
you for saying that.
He's too old. I said he's too old, and that was true.
I know
Jeff Bridges.
we're a bit young,
Oof.
but I think if we get a trench coat and are on each other's shoulders,
We could
we
do
could
it.
look
That's
older.
true.
Pull it up,
That is
yeah.
true.
Pull it off.
So
That's a good
it could
idea.
be the Orange Boys in a trench
18
coat.
foot tall Berzado father.
Hello, son. I'm
Hello.
hungry for fishes.
I feel like we got to get
It's
one of
me,
the.
your
Your
dad.
mom makes great fishes.
We got to get
Delicious.
one of the Italian guys, like Joe Pesci or something, to be.
Joe Pesci is so old.
He is very old.
But I'm talking like
He's
that
too old.
class of Italian
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying
Yeah,
Joe
like-
Pesci specifically.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But all those
Do
guys
we
are
have
so
a young
old, like
guy?
that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, Jamie Lee Curtis does not look very young.
No,
I'll
no.
go
But
and
Joe
add.
Pesci is like 80s.
Is he? What does he
Yeah.
look like now? Is he alive?
He's
still?
so old, dude.
Is he alive? Is Joe Pesci alive?
He is alive. Joe Pesci is alive. Irishman was his last movie, and that was 5 years ago.
Joe Pesci now. Oh, freak. He is way older than I thought he was.
Yeah.
Sheesh, he's got kind of a Ringo Starr look to him.
Let's see. Old, yeah, Italian American actors.
Look at this. He looks
Oh,
like Ringo.
yeah.
Whoa.
He does. Peace and love.
Read that article. After a long hiatus. Oh, Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Nick Cage is the dad.
Mm,
Perfect. It's perfect. Nick Cage is their dad. That's it. Perfect. We decided it.
What about
Good job, guys. Glad we figured it
Mm.
out. Nick Cage is
I don't know if I like that.
he's too goofy.
He's too goofy. Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio,
Maybe he died from being too goofy.
Steve Buscemi.
What
Maybe he
about
got so goofy. he
Gary
died.
Oldman?
Oh, Gary
Gary
Oldman is
Oldman, I could
perfect
dig
for
it.
every role.
I dig it.
Have you watched any Slow Horses? He's so good in that.
I
He's
haven't.
such a slow
I've
horse.
just watched a
he's-
couple episodes with my dad, and it is good. He's really good in it.
Mm. Oh,
Steve
can't-
Carell,
Can't make that joke. Sean Penn?
Mark
Sean?
Ruffalo,
Sean Penn, Mark Ruffalo,
Vince Vaughn is Italian, I guess.
Vince Vaughn
Vince Vaughn-
actually could be pretty good, and I feel
Yeah,
like he's in
Vince
their
Vaughn
price
actually would be a
range.
pretty- yeah. Vince Vaughn
All
could be
right,
good.
let's call it there.
All right, of all
Let's call
those-
it Vince Vaughn.
Bill, yeah, Vince Vaughn. We got him.
Famously an
Vince.
actor who's only in good stuff.
I do like Vince
Yep,
Vaughn a lot.
I
Have
like
you seen
Vince
his
Vaughn.
Hot Ones?
Yes,
No,
it
I
was
haven't.
great.
Was
It's
it? It was
really
new,
good.
kind of, right?
Yeah, it's new.
Mhm.
It's like
It's
a
really
week
good.
or two
Oh,
old
how about
from the time this airs.
How about Brad Derrick?
Who's
He's the
that?
guy. He's the guy who is.
What about
not
Vince
Brad
Vaughn? We
Derrick.
decided
Hey,
on
What's the
Vince
guy's
Vaughn
name?
is a
It's not
great
Brad
pick.
Derrick. It's something Derrick. Brad Derrick
Um,
did music for. I'm talking the guy that plays Raymond's brother in Everybody Loves Raymond.
Never seen it.
He's just droopy guy.
What about Ray Romano?
Ray
Ray
Romano.
Hey, we
He's
love
not too
Ray.
silly.
What is this guy's name?
Droopy guy.
Everybody Loves Raymond brother.
But yeah, the Vince Vaughn Hot Ones. If you guys are listening,
Yeah, it was
Brad
great.
Garrett. Brad Garrett.
if you're still listening, go check it out. I think Vince Vaughn is very well spoken in it and has a lot of really, really cool insights.
Yeah, it was
and
cool.
he's very polite. His story is great.
No,
That's
Vince
him.
Vaughn is better.
What do you mean no? That's Brad Garrett.
Vince Vaughn.
Brad Garrett's a good looking dude.
He's a main character in Curb Your Enthusiasm for the last few seasons, and he's great in
He
that
is?
too.
Vince Vaughn?
Uh-huh. Yeah, Vince Vaughn.
Wow.
Yeah, he's really funny. He's a
Nice.
great addition
Good
to
for
those that Larry, David, Jeff Green bouncing off each other.
Larry David. Ugh,
Oh,
too bad we
he
already
would be
picked Vince
such-
Vaughn. Too bad.
Dude, Larry David showing up in anything other than Curb is like I would just feel
Disorienting.
especially, yeah. Oh, hey guys, it's me, your dad. I'm Larry David, or I'm Larry Berzado.
Keep Larry. Wow. Well, this has been fun.
This has been fun.
Any other
This
thoughts on
has
the
been
bear?
this has been the bear. No, I think this was a great discussion.
We think we talked a lot
I
about
We
That's
didn't
covered all
really
things
get
about the
into
bear.
the hellscape cliffhanger like I was thinking we would, but honestly, it's probably better
No.
to wait till season 4 to even
Yeah,
talk
it's
about
hard.
it
It's
anyway.
it'll be better to wait and talk about it in context. Exactly.
It's like if you've seen Stranger, and I've seen this on social media, so this is not my idea, but if you watch the Stranger Things finale for season 4 and put it side by side with the Bear finale, season
of season
3,
3.
it's like shot for shot, basically the
Oh
same.
wow.
They just
Yeah, you should
ripped
try.
it, but just
Like when the whole city of Chicago starts ripping in half,
Yeah.
yeah,
and
and
there's some
there's that
squelching
bully
and stuff.
whose body
Well,
just
I don't
gets
know if you
torn in
saw
half.
this, but in one of the far zoom outs, it does kind of show that a lot of the Bears competitors fall into that rift. So I
Oh,
think
so they're gonna
that
have a
that's
monopoly.
kind of a setup is that
They're framed for it.
once he, disassembles Satan's empire and restores order, they're going to come back and business is going to be booming, baby, because they're not going to have any competitors.
Smart.
You want a Michelin star meal in Chicago, you go to the Bear because there are literally no other options.
They say all the stars are in heaven,
Nice.
or we're about to get one from hell.
Yeah, dude.
Heck yeah, bro.
So
That'll be
sick.
awesome.
So sick. Maybe Brad Garrett plays Satan. That could be kind of cool.
Good
Mm,
casting. Good pick.
Good casting.
Good casting.
that would
Or
be
us
good.
in a trench coat.
Us in
Yeah.
a trench coat or the
As
devil.
Satan. That could be good too. Or the guy who plays Mephisto in the Nick Cage Ghost Rider. And then Nick Cage is playing Ghost Rider, but he's also their parents. So they have Ghost Rider blood.
Dude, I
And so he
can't wait
says
for
ghost
Carmen
on.
Berzotto to
Ghost
show
on.
up in
And he
Secret
goes,
Wars.
Ghost on. And his head just goes,
Dude,
that'll
Carmen,
be
when he
sick.
shows up in Secret Wars, I know the audience is just gonna go nuts, dude.
They're gonna,
Disney property.
yeah.
Disney property.
It is Disney.
Disney.
You're right.
Could happen.
Could happen.
Carmen Berzotto
Carmen
Yeah.
Berzotto, the
with his
Ghost Rider.
bone sword.
They open up the portals, and instead of on your left, it's just behind.
Behind.
But he's not a
Hands.
superhero at all. He's just cooking.
He's
And
just
he's like,
Carmen,
huh?
yeah.
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 He just verbally
Behind.
berates.
They're
his
just like, hey
opponent.
guys, you like the multiverse idea. Any character can be in it, right? So you want this to happen, right? This matters to you.
Oh, I'm so
It's a
excited for
shame.
that crossover.
It's a shame it hasn't happened yet.
It is.
I wonder if they're ever gonna get to a point where they start putting just straight up Disney characters into Marvel stuff and vice versa.
I don't.
I
It's
I
like
don't know.
Elsa showing up in Secret Wars and like freezing
Oh.
everybody.
Oh.
We want Iceman and we
Well,
get
okay.
Elsa.
We get
What about
Elsa.
the only person I'll take is live action Maui. Bring
Oh,
him
live
in.
action
Oh,
Maui.
Bring
dude,
him into
That would be
yes.
sweet. Live
I
action
cannot
Maui
wait.
and live action The Incredibles. Can you imagine seeing them and the Fantastic Four going head to head in Secret Wars?
It'd
Yeah,
be
that would
cool.
be,
The
That would-
power
or maybe not even live action.
of
Maybe they're
the-
just animated. Maybe that's what Incredibles 3 is going to be. Just announced.
It was just
Incredibles
announced.
3.
Lead into Secret Wars. Maybe.
Ugh, no,
Could
thank
be.
you. Well, they still have to wait another like 10 years because they have to do 15 years in between each sequel. So
Right.
it'll be a while.
As per tradition.
As per tradition with the Incredibles. But hey, thanks for listening, everyone. Listen, we've been yapping about the bear, and we love that show, and we love you all. And we hope that you watch the bear and listen to this episode, and that nothing else happens. Nothing bad happens in your life. Only good. That you get that job interview, that you drive to work safely every single day, and no one rear ends you, and no other bad things happen. Only good
And
things.
that you feel the full force of our love just slamming into you.
Just emanating
right when you
off
are
of
about
us.
to fall
Yeah.
asleep, you feel a physical impact. That is our
From
love.
our love. Yep. We can't wait for you to feel that. And
Except for a select few people who are listening to this, I think it's 3 people. You know who you are. You will not be feeling a physical impact.
yeah, we've already notified you via Evite.
You know what you did. We evited you to a discussion and you did not appear to that discussion and therefore no physical love for you.
I wasn't
Unfortunate.
aware that we invited you in that way. So there is one person of those 3 who was also invited to my birthday party. I do need you to not come to
Need
that.
to
I didn't know we
rescind
were
that
shaming you.
invitation.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry about that, but you're no
So
longer invited.
yeah, one of you know who you are though. Just disregard that Evite.
Yeah.
And
You
since
know
that
who-
seems to be the habit of what you do anyway, is just disregarding Evites.
Just
So
disregard Evites. Yeah, it's it's the thing maybe you're best at.
yeah.
This episode has 30 more minutes left in it.
You know who is invited to my birthday party? Niall's
Who?
mom.
Oh, Niall's mom is so
Why?
invited. Niall's mom, I mean, my mom. We are inviting her because she deserves it, you know. She's been working hard, and most importantly, we just love her because of that, because of all the hard work she puts in. And for that, we're going to shout her out. And not just the three of us, but also the following people: Alec Olson, Roan Oberg, Nick Bell, Michael Polonczyk, Easy Law, Britton Inkley, Riley Allen, Ian, James Martin, and Hannah Steed. All of those dang people that you just heard, they're shouting out Kel. They're shouting out my mom. They know what's going on to do that.
They get it.
If you don't know how to shout out my mom, I'll teach you. Get your lips wet and ready to shout her out. And then before you do it, go on to patreon.com/mancavemovie night and just pledge to give us $3 a month to support this podcast. And in doing so, you get access to a backlog of post-credits episodes that we recorded over the last year. And you also get to shout out my mom every week at the end of the episode, a la this shouting out that just happened.
Shout out
Yep.
to Cal.
So
Shout
yeah,
out to
that's how you
Kel.
can do that.
Cool.
done
Well,
talking.
hey,
I'm done.
thanks for listening. We love you guys and hope you have a wonderful week. And don't get rear-ended while you're driving and listening to us.
Stay
And
safe.
Bazinga,
Check
and
that
we'll
blind
see you on
spot.
another Man Cave Movie Night Monday.
Bye 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 bye
And bye-bye, Bazinga.
bye bye.